Okay, welcome everybody. So people often say that everyone in China just works all the time. But when I lived there, that's not what I saw. I saw people shopping, eating out, gaming, just living very modern lives. Honestly, it felt a lot more familiar than I expected. So one of the first things I noticed living in China is just how convenient daily life is. Pretty much everything runs through your phone with apps like Alipay and WeChat. You can order food in minutes, pay for everything instantly, get groceries delivered, basically anything you need. And it's not just big things, it's small things too, like ordering a coffee, paying for a taxi, even splitting a bill. It's all just done instantly on your phone. And after a while, you stop thinking about it. It just becomes normal. And in a lot of cities, you don't even really need a car. You can walk to most places, take public transportation, or just have things brought to you. And honestly, when I compare all this to the United States, in some ways, daily life actually felt more convenient. And another thing that really stood out to me, malls are everywhere in China, and they're not just places to shop. They're where people actually spend their time. And you'll see people going to these malls to eat, meet friends, go out on dates, or just hang out there for hours. And a lot of them are huge too, with multiple floors, packed with restaurants, cafes, movie theaters, even things like karaoke or arcades. And they'll also have events going on, like performances, promotions, sometimes even small concerts or pop up activities. So instead of just going to buy something, you go there to spend your whole afternoon or evening. And they're busy every time you go. That's something that felt very different from the United States, where a lot of malls have been declining. But in China, they're still a central part of everyday life. And another thing you notice pretty quickly is that people in China just don't save money, they also spend it. You see a real consumer culture there. Luxury brands like Gucci or Nike are very visible, especially in cities, and gaming is huge, especially mobile and PC gaming. A lot of people play games like Honor of Kings, and you'd see it constantly in everyday life, on the metro, during breaks, in cafes. People are always on their phones, either messaging or gaming. Even just walking through busy areas, you'll notice screens everywhere. It's just part of the environment in China. And for a lot of people, especially younger people, entertainment like that is just part of their daily routine. So it's not just a work and save society, it's also a really strong consumer society. People still save a lot, of course, but they also spend on lifestyle, entertainment, and status. And another thing that I notice is how people actually socialize in China. It's not a centered around bars like you might see in America. Instead, a lot of social life happens in places like restaurants, cafes, malls, or karaoke. So people are still going out a lot. It's just different kinds of spaces. And you also see things like square dancing in public squares in the evenings and Tai Chi in the mornings. You'll also often see older men gathering around tables playing mahjong or card games in parks or on street corners. It's very public, very visible, and very normal. It's mostly older people, but not only. It's really cross generational, with all ages. And it's spontaneous, communal, and just a part of daily life. In America, that kind of public group activity is pretty rare. But in China, you see it all the time. So people weren't just staying home, they were out all the time, just in different kinds of spaces. But it is true that people in China work a lot. There are long working hours in certain industries, especially things like tech, sales, finance, and urban office jobs. And there's even a phrase people sometimes use, 996, referring to working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And in some cities, especially in bigger urban centers, that kind of schedule can feel pretty intense when you're around it. But at the same time, it's important to say that this isn't everyone's experience. It really depends on the job, the company, and the industry you're in. For a lot of people, especially outside those high pressure sectors, life looks much more normal, with regular hours, weekends off, and a clear separation between work and personal time. And what I notice is that even when people do work long hours, life doesn't just stop at work. You still see people going out afterwards, meeting friends, grabbing food, going to malls, just being out in the city. And that's actually something I notice across East Asia more broadly. Similar patterns exist in places like Japan and South Korea too. So it's not as simple as everyone is overworked all the time, but there is definitely a strong work culture in certain parts of society in China. Another big part of middle class life in China is housing. For most people, especially in cities, living in apartments is just the norm, and homeownership is a really important goal, sometimes even a major life milestone in a way that feels more intense than in America. In many cases, families will actually help with that process. It's very common for parents to contribute financially, when their children are buying a home or getting married. There's also a traditional expectation of children supporting their parents as they get older, although that has been changing somewhat in recent years, especially in bigger cities. So there's a strong family support system, but it also comes with expectations. Things like saving for a place to live or planning for marriage can feel like long term responsibilities that people think about pretty early. And what I notice is that this creates a different kind of life structure compared to America. There is often less early independence, but more emphasis on long term stability and building within a family system. So instead of leaving home early and doing everything on your own, there's more continuity between generations. And another thing I noticed while living in China is just how safe and stable daily life feels in most cities. You can walk around at night and generally feel very comfortable doing so. It's not something you really have to think about in the same way you might in other places. Even in large cities, there's a strong sense of order in everyday life. Public transportation is also a big part of that. Most major cities have very developed systems and are used by everyone, from students to working adults to older people. You don't really need a car to get around most urban areas, which changes how cities feel. And something else I noticed is that kids often have more independence in public spaces than you might expect. You'll sometimes see them using public transportation or moving around cities on their own in ways that would feel unusual in America. And overall, there's just a sense that daily life runs very smoothly in the background. Things feel organized, predictable, and very structured in how cities operate in China. So when you look at all this together, the daily life, the malls, the consumer culture, the social spaces, the work culture, and the way cities operate, what you're really looking at is China's middle class. And it's important to understand that this isn't a small or niche part of the population. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people living in these kinds of urban environments. People who are working, spending time with friends, going out after work, raising families, and just going about everyday life in a very modern setting. And in fact, by most estimates, this is the largest middle class in the world today. So when people think about China, it's very easy to think about images of factories, manufacturing, or just the idea of long working hours. And while those things do exist, they are only part of the picture. What's easy to miss is just how many people are living completely ordinary modern urban lives that in many ways don't feel that different from other big cities around the world. And that's what really stood out to me the most from living there. And of course, this is mostly the urban side of China. Life in rural areas can still look quite different, but in the cities, what stands out is how normal daily life feels in a lot of ways. People are working, commuting, spending time with friends, going out and building families, just like anywhere else. And like a lot of places in the modern world, there's this constant balance between working hard and actually living your life. That tension isn't unique to China. It's something you can see in many countries today. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have many more videos coming just like this one. And also maybe let me know in the comments, does any of this surprise you compared to what you may have expected? But I'm going to go here, everybody. Thanks again for watching. I'll see everyone for the next time.